Okay.
You're good.
Okay, so then I'll go ahead and get started with this goal setting plan site supervisor interview.
Okay.
I'll start with a little bit about me, current, previous positions, purpose, my goal within the superintendent program. Starting with my academic journey, I did get my bachelor's in psychology and minored in criminal justice. While taking the psychology courses, I did take a few school psychology, so that
Mhm.
may have been where the interest started. After I got my bachelor's, I worked at a nonprofit organization, and I worked with kids, school age students, and I really liked that. After I had been there for about 2 years, the district in Crystal City was in dire need of teachers, which we still are, right? But they were back then
Right.
too. And so they convinced me to come in for an interview, and I interviewed, and I ended up accepting a position as an English teacher, English and ESL teacher. So that first year, I had to do the alternative certification,
Okay.
and so I remember I started that in August. I took the content exam. I passed it. In January, I took the ESL exam and I passed it. And then I was like, oh, the PPR, I'll just take it in June, and took it in June and passed it. So I was certified within that first year, which was okay. Like that was good. And after a couple of years of teaching, I decided that I wanted to pursue a master's. So I decided to go for like a master's in education, which which I did. I loved those courses. It was like, like it made me kind of excited to like become a principal someday. So I finished the master's, but I immediately jumped into a PhD program, which which I'm currently still in. And that's been like I kind of almost missed like that first year of the PhD program when everything was overwhelming, but like all that the Freire and subtractive schooling and all of that's like I missed discussing that with my colleagues right now, so I'm like missing them big time. But anyway, so that's where I am academically and still working on that PhD. Hopefully next year it'll be complete. And like I said, I kind of talked about the professional journey too. Like, so I've been a teacher. I've been an English teacher and ESL teacher for the past 7 years. So this was supposed to be my 8th year teaching, but since I passed the principalship, the PASL and the principal
Right.
exam, I got fully certified in this
Right.
past spring, and then just some opportunities arose, and luckily there was a spot available at my campus. So I was a 7th grade teacher at the junior high, and now I'm the assistant principal at the junior high. So it's like super new for me, and I'm learning and I'm having fun, but I'm also it's it's a lot.
It is.
But
Yeah.
it's good. I think it's like okay, I can do it. I guess.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the goal with the superintendent program, it's like I had told you last time, it's like I kind of feel a little like I bit off more than I can chew, but I do have a lot of support with, like with classmates and the
Right.
professor, and of course you, just speaking with you, like getting your advice and stuff has been extremely beneficial to me. So, and that's where I am. And then, yeah, of course, like I said earlier, ESL is my passion. I want to look at it from a policy point of view, right, for my PhD, but also strategies to help, help those ESL kiddos.
Right.
Mhm.
Good. Good. Okay. And then had y'all talked about the will and knowledge
Oh yes.
school district framework?
Okay, so like in the wheel of knowledge, when we're going over it, I, like I said, I'm still getting used to being an administrator, like coming from it's just different, right? Like
It is.
being a classroom teacher to like kind of almost like a manager, right? The runnings of the school. So I'm still like getting used to that. And so when I was looking at the different aspects of the wheel of knowledge, I think the area that I'm most comfortable with is the communications, external and internal communications, because I feel like that's a skill that, well, of course, you need as a teacher, right? Parent contact and communicating with your students. but I feel I've been able to like hone in on those skills as an administrator because I contact a lot of parents in this position as well, and I feel like I do an okay job. Like I know how to talk to some parents. I can bring a parent who's angry, and I can kind of bring them to like a mutual understanding
Hmm.
without like making it worse or escalating the situation. So I think if I were to work like at a superintendent level or like a central office level, I think that would be um, a skill that I could bring with me. I think that I'm okay at that.
Right. Yes.
And then, so like I said, I think that would be my strength in here. And then areas of growth is like, oh, everything else. but
Right.
but I think I just want to focus on two.
Okay.
And the first one, I would like to learn more about the governance operations, like the board of trustees and how all that works. I know it's political, and I know there's a lot that goes into all of that. And it's just like, I don't know, I'm sure I've just like scratched the surface with all that. And then to be like, I know that the board is like in charge of the superintendent, but then the superintendent's in charge of the schools, like not the board. Like the board can't tell like a principal what to do, right?
Right.
No, so I know like, and I would like to just learn more about that because if I were to become like a superintendent, I want to know exactly what can be done and what can't be done. And not just because somebody says so or somebody spoke to the board and it has to be that way or whatever, right? Or just like, how can the board help me? How can the board help the school?
Right.
How can we make it work like efficiently? And I would just like to learn more about that in general.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Good.
the other area that I would like to learn more about is like administrative finance and business operations. Because I know that's like as a teacher, I never had to deal with any of that. The closest I came to was being the UIL coordinator and the cheer sponsor, which I had like a little tiny puny budget where it's just like, okay, it supplies, okay, we're done. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine like these, and I hear my principal and my secretary talking about like, oh, you have this 942 budget or whatever, and and it's like, well, you can't use that money for that because it needs to come out of here, and then that's federal and that's local, and so it's Greek to me. So I would like to learn more about that because I think that would help me in this current position as
Yeah.
well as a superintendent position. So I think that would be a very beneficial area to focus on for myself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good. And finance and business, it's still Greek to me too. So
Okay. So you mean does it just
we'll
make sense?
cover this in, yeah, we'll cover this in Greek. Yeah. So no, uh, and I think last time we talked, don't ever underestimate the amount of knowledge you already have. And that's what I kind of found true as I went through or gone through the different levels of whether it's campus leadership or district leadership. I always knew more than I thought I knew. I mean, there's always pieces that you don't know because you haven't experienced it yet. You know, the book only shares so much with you. You've got to live through a lot of it to learn it in areas as well. And I found that to be quite true. Some guiding principles that the book will have, especially around communication. The most effective piece, and I'm glad that you feel comfortable in talking to people, because that is the most effective way to be good at communication as a superintendent or even a principal, is communicating. And don't be fearful of communicating. I'm going to tell you right now that you're going to call somebody, and if you haven't already, you will be chewed out top to bottom. But don't ever take it personal. Don't. It's never personal. They've become frustrated about something else. It wasn't about your phone call. You can always hang up and say, I'll call back later, or feel free to call me when you're ready to talk. Don't ever sit there and take it for a long period of time. I didn't. And just because that's not effective. You're gonna end up talking to them again anyways once
Right.
they calm down. So you might as well keep the chewing up and down, keep it short, and keep the professional and the conversation where you're going to get points across and it's going to be more uh, useful to both sides. Keep that the longer conversation. But and in saying that, even though you may get chewed out, go ahead and call them anyways. Uh, that don't give them a reason to chew you out because you didn't call back or didn't come forward with something. Uh, you know, a 90, and most times I don't think I've ever measured it in time, but I think most of my chewings, they're done in about 90 seconds. You dread it for 90 hours. So you might as well just go get it done, and because you know it's going to happen. You don't want it to happen, and oftentimes it's not as bad as you thought because you did get back to them, and they thought you never would. Sometimes, in some cases, so
Right.
communication. Use it to your benefit. Use it to your asset. Use it to your strength, and make those phone calls, even when they're going to be hard. Even when uh, that what your resolve is not what they want to hear. But as long as it's legal and it's what's uh, in policy, you're not going to be able to change it. And don't put yourself in a position that you become compromised to the point to where, well, you did it for so and so, do it for over here. I don't think I'm certain you won't do that. I see it happening at times, but it's not worth it. It's easier in the long run, especially at night when you go to bed and lay your head down. You know that what I did today, I did all for the right reasons and for the right things and according to policy. And people sometimes don't like it. People don't like getting pulled over for speeding. But you know what? You still were speeding. You knew the speed limit. Don't get mad. Just get over it and let's go on down the road. So communication is always a good thing. That'll carry you a long ways. Uh, Governance. So that's an area you would like to learn more about. The quickest and easiest thing to say is watch some board meetings. Do you attend your board meetings there in Crystal?
They've been streaming them.
Are they still
So,
streaming?
so
They're
it's
all
like
online.
really convenient because I could
Yeah,
pause it too,
yeah. But I would encourage you at some point to go and watch them in person,
Hmm.
just to get the feel of the atmosphere. Uh, I,
Yeah.
some of the things I've watched, you can't always understand or feel or transfer what's happening in the event itself over the streaming uh, video that you're watching. Sometimes you got to kind of get a little closer look at people's facial expressions or people's mannerisms or things of that nature. So I'd encourage you to go in person when you can, or here as well. I've uh, no doubt the seems like there's a lot of political situations go between the board and the superintendent. I'll be very upfront and say I've been very fortunate. I've got a board where we do work well together, and it
That's
may be because uh, my relationship may be different because I grew up here, and most of the board members grew up here, and we've had interactions prior to becoming kind of the working unit of eight, the team of eight. So that may have some little history to it that we don't have to build all the context, and we might uh, miss something if by trying to build it. But at the same time, working together, I've been very fortunate. Our board is very uh, goal oriented, and I think that's kind of one of the things on the governance. One of the hidden pieces that doesn't always emerge that people remember is when you become a superintendent. When you interview, I would ask them, what are your two, three, four main goals? You can't have 10 main goals. you will work yourself to death, and the the expectations will be unreal, and you won't be able to meet all 10 goals. So TASB, Texas Association of School Boards, is a good organization. I'm not saying you need to join, but they've got a good website. They've got a lot of resources on their website that you can go to, download, read, and gives you a little more insight on the dynamics of a school board and a superintendent and the working relationship and expectations and the superintendent's their suggested uh, evaluation tools on there. So it would kind of give you an idea of but they suggest no more than four, and they prefer to have 2 to 3 goals at any one time that you work on. And that becomes something that the team of 8 decide upon. They'll ask you, most likely, to come and say, these are some things that our district really needs to work on. Or they may come back and say, hey, this is, as a board, as a district, where we want to go in the future. Help us get there. It may be something as like passing a bond and building a new high school, or that direction. Or, you know what, we want a stronger career and technology department. You know what, we know our academics aren't where they need to be. We really need a strong reading and math program. Develop one. And then you do that. But they don't tell you how to develop it. That becomes you. That becomes your wheelhouse. How do I develop that program? How do I develop that timeline to get to these points in the future? And who do I align myself with as far as resources out there? And I say align myself. I mean, you go out and find those people that have already done what you've been asked to do, and then get their roadmap of success, get their input, and use those outside resources, because although school evolves and it continues to evolve and it evolves quickly, there's not many things that you're going to encounter that somebody else hasn't already done. Somebody else's math and English scores have been low. Somebody else has built a CTE program. Somebody else has built high schools. Somebody else has built, campuses. Whatever it is that your district sees, that the change or the improvement or whatever, somebody else has already done that. Maybe not in Zavala County and Crystal City, but there are some other people that in the state. And you'd start at your service center. We've got a good service center, Region 20. And, you start there and ask questions. And again, back to the communication, which is a skill that you're already confident in. That's going to carry you a long ways, as far as saying, hey, this is where I need to go. This is what we're looking to do. Who do I need to talk to next? Well, then who do I need to talk to next? And don't be shy about asking. A lot of people won't ask because they're shy or afraid that they should already know something. And my questions, your question's never done. That age old, there's no dumb questions. That's exactly right. Regardless of what the audience may say, if you don't know it, you need to know it. So just ask, and don't ever be shy about asking. But yeah, I would, on that professional growth, governance, and operations, I would look at the TASA or the TASA and TASB. You probably are on the TASA website, but TASB, that does have a lot of good material. And then the business and operations, the codes are important, but that is not something that I've got a little cheat sheet. I've got a cheat book I keep back here. I guess I cheated it out somewhere else. But my brain's only going to hold so much, and I'm not going to fill it up with a bunch of numbers. But I'm smart enough to go get the book wherever I left it. I left it somewhere. But anyways, the codes mean something, and some of the big pieces that you'll need to learn over time. It's more about how you can use the money and where you can use the money. And you may not know that today, but don't sweat those details. There's a lot of workshops, and again, Region 20 is a good resource to go to to their business office over there, say, hey, I've got this question, and they do have people over there that do just what you're asking about, the numbers or whatever. But it's deeper than that, but not harder. When I say deep, it's not hard deep. It's just deep as far as, well, you can only use it on these funds on this population. You can only use 55% to pay for this program. You can only use so much a percentage. And you find that a lot of your federal monies and even some of your state allocations have percentages tied to them, that you can only use them for certain amounts. But we'll get into that as well. Then the easiest money to use is your local money. And when I say your local money, do you know where your local money comes from?
Texas?
Perfect. So you do. See? Yeah, exactly. See, you already know more than you thought. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that becomes your easiest money to use. And a lot of times that ends up, a lot of that going into maintenance and operations, because you're not going to be able to use Title I funds into maintenance and operations. A lot of that local money will go into pay some salaries of your tradespeople, your custodians, those individuals that actually make the schools run and happen behind the scenes, your support service people. And you probably already know the biggest draw on your overall budget is in what area? It's me and you. It's people. It's our salaries.
Okay, the salaries. Yeah.
It's the salaries, So you'll end up with only about 20, and if you're lucky, 25% to be able to go out and use for campus projects, as far as keeping them pretty, keeping them clean, keeping the buses running. That's all local money, other than special ed and special ed transportation, but that would come as well. And the easiest or the easiest way for me to learn that, or learn that all this, was to actually be here and going out and getting on my feet and walking and seeing and talking to people. So when we start talking about the local budget, well, I know that's Pete, I know that's Rodney, I know that's Johnny, that we're talking about. And then I can kind of categorize people in my mind, categorize where these monies go and how they're allocated. Well, when I get to my FLS teachers, I know that's going to come out of special ed, but I've got to match some local money to that program, and then that's where that percentages comes in. But you'll learn that over time. But we'll work. I'll get some stuff put together for you on that as well. But don't sweat it. Don't think there won't be a great big test at the end of this. And you've already passed the principal test, right?
Yes.
So you passing that, there's not a test you can't pass now. That's become a monster of a test. I'm glad
that was tough.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to take it. I really am.
Even the test itself, like the multiple choice test, had 3 writing parts, and then PASL is just a whole other animal. That that was tough.
No,
I passed.
Yeah, exactly. Out of my wheelhouse. So yeah. So, anyways, I'm kind of going all over the place. Do you want to kind of go through each question and look at some of these and give you some thoughts, or
Sure.
is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, and see where these questions take us.
Okay. Ways to build capacity as exemplary and ethical district leader. First thing is communicate, follow board policy. Where do you find board policy?
We have it on our website.
Perfect. There you go.
The federal and local.
In your communication, it's always an acceptable answer to say, I don't know at this moment, but I'll get back to you. Right. Use that, give you some time to, if that is the case, research. Sometimes you just need that break from being in front of you to give me time to, I may know the answer, but I'm not really ready to share it right now. Yeah. We both have to calm down a little bit. Uh, you, but capacity as an exemplary and ethical district leader, communication, follow the board policy, follow the policies your board does pass, your student code of conduct. And if you do those things, it's going to lead you in the right direction. It really will. And, you know, the, I don't know if it's where that falls. It may fall somewhere down low, but, building relationships, just being genuine as a person, uh, that to me has uh, worked well for me. I'm just kind of a regular guy. When I went to the campuses today, the kind of just talk to the teachers in their world. I don't come at it from a different lens because I'm the superintendent. We're going to have this kind of conversation. It's about what are you doing and what's going on in your class, and talk to the kids. That's the only way I guess I've stayed in it for 30 years now is because I talk to kids. They kind of re-energize. They're my recharge button. And when day kind of stinks here in my office or around here, I'll just leave and go to a campus. So that's one of the best things about being a superintendent. You can just walk out when you want to. You don't have to ask anybody's permission.
Right. True.
So I'll go to a campus and walk and talk to the kids, and kids are honest, they're funny, and they're laughing and they're having a good time. So use that as an opportunity sometimes when when you're trying to refill your purpose. Why am I here? Why I'm in this office? And you got to get back out to the kids and get your purpose back. Every day you walk outside, you got a house full of kids, and I don't know if that's your purpose and that's how you get recharged, but that's how I do. I've got to get away from here and go get recharged. As far as other things, build capacity. Are you a member of TASA, or will you be going to TASA this year?
I don't know. I know. I just heard about it through the class.
You're right. Yeah, I noticed Miss Bernie mentioned that. Dr. Bernie mentioned that the other day. I didn't know if that's something y'all had talked about as a cohort to go to, or if she was just encouraging y'all to go.
So I don't know. We might go, or I mean, it's still kind of up in the air. But I mean, I'm not opposed to it. So.
Yeah. So professional learning organizations, definitely stay involved in those. As a high school principal, there is an organization for high school campus administration that usually takes place mid-June. It seems like is the time for that organization to get together. There's TEPSA, which is elementary principals, and then there's TASP, TASSP, which I think is still the same acronym. Texas Association of Secondary School Principals, or its administrators. But I would encourage you to get on board with those. And TASA, when you do get to the central office area, definitely become part of that. That's a good organization. And when you do become a superintendent, you'll go to what they call the TASA TASB. So that's it's an enjoyable time as well. Always kind of understand what your driving purpose is. When you reflect at the end of the day, and I heard you say Friday earlier. So it's subtractive learning. So were those two of the first books y'all did?
Oh yeah, that was first semester.
Yeah. Yep. And I still go to both of them. They're good.
And it's like we read them like all those years ago, but like as things happen in life, you're like, oh, it relates to that. So it's like unpacking it still. So
yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Garza, I can't remember if it was with Frady or if it was a semester or two beyond that, where one of the strongest things I think I learned through the uh, UTSA doctoral program was him talking about reflecting. And I'm not talking about, going and burning incense and kind of getting within yourself, just at the end of the day, kind of reflecting on the activities and, doing kind of a self grade. Was that an A job or was that more of a D job? Was it a D job because I didn't call them back quick enough? Was it what, just kind of what was it? Uh, none of us are perfect. None of us will ever have a perfect day. But if you take a few times, and it could be from your drive from your office to home. I'm not saying spend a whole hour doing that, but just kind of think on some of those high points, and and they'll start emerging and thinking about, did I do a good job? And then when you become superintendent and you're working towards some of those goals, you reflect upon, how do I move forward? I feel like, am I kind of stagnant right now? What I need to do to get off center? Am I getting bogged down in some daily grind that I really need to give to somebody else, so that I can keep doing what I need to do for the district as a whole? But just stay oriented well, and reflecting does a good job of that. And also, I know you've done a lot of reading here recently for the last few years, and a lot for uh, the school and what that expectation was. But just as you said a while ago, that subtractive schooling book, it begins to, like you said, unpack itself almost. Like, okay, I've read about this, or I've seen this, or I'm now aware of this barrier that's out there that shouldn't be there. And how do I deal with it? And that book was written when?
It was the 90s. I want to say it's early 90s or mid 90s.
25 to 30 years ago, right?
Yep.
And we still see some of the same things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the authentic care. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, and you
Yes.
see that, and even as, well, I mean, anybody could see it, right? But like, and in this assistant principal position, why I deal with discipline. So it's when students are getting kicked out for like not having a pencil or whatever, is like, how hard really is that student going to work for that teacher?
Right.
And I kind of wish I could like, oh, like read this book.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I teach them this?
Read this chapter.
Yeah, read this chapter.
And I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so like you see stuff like that, and it's like, well, and then like you said, nobody's perfect, right? Like, and there's not perfect teachers, and there's not completely horrible teachers. Like everybody has,
Sure.
like some might be having a bad day too. And then so I kind of had to put it, like me too, like authentic care for my teachers as well. Like I had, and that was one of my goals. I mean, one of my missions when I became administrator, is like, I never ever want to forget what it feels like to be in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because like as a teacher, like we go through a lot, but I can see how it's easy to forget like the struggles that they go through. Because you have your different set of struggles over here, and it's like I need to stay grounded with, I need to talk to teachers and kids. Well, I talk to kids all day, but and which that's why I'm here. I like the kids, but yeah. So it's like it's all just like coming back at me, but like now from a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah. But you're exactly right. So that lens that you've had when you went in, and that's been strengthened through the coursework, and that awareness that has been built within yourself. Yeah, that pencil. It wasn't about the pencil as much as it was about an attitude,
Right.
of, that pencil just became the leverage piece. The attitude towards the whole environment is where the problem is, or problem lies, that we've got to 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 fix. And that's not the best term, but to that growth opportunity that exists there. But yeah, you're exactly right. That and comes, it's going to come through your positive influence. It's going to come through your positive leadership. It's going to come through them seeing you in the way uh, you bring, I guess, the focus back. I don't know what your normal uh, course of business is when that kid comes to you and without the pencil or whatever it is that teacher sent them out. You know, if you go back and talk to that teacher and maybe just try to say, hey, I'm just here to try to understand. Uh,
Mhm.
you Johnny, I could easily give him a pencil, but is there an opportunity for me to bring a box of pencils in here for him? Because
Right.
Johnny's here to learn, and if Johnny's not in your class, he's not going to learn. And I know we need to teach responsibility, but you know what? That that's not in the TEKS anywhere.
Right.
The him learning a responsibility is not in TEKS. Him learning your algebra is in the TEKS.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to build a barrier between you and Johnny, but you and I both need Johnny in class, and Johnny needs to be in class, and Johnny's feeling a little ostracized now, and he's going to be a little bit embarrassed when he comes back into class because he got removed. So how can I help you help Johnny?
Right.
Do you want me to come in here and just tomorrow and just check on him 5 minutes after the class, and you and I just wink, and I'll just move on if everything's good, and if you don't wink, I'll stick around. But that'll be our sign. And because again, and when a teacher says, well, they need to be responsible, well, that's not in the TEKS. You bring it to me in the TEKS, then we'll have that discussion. But you and I, the best way to help Johnny learn responsibility is to maybe give him a chore in the class. You know what, Johnny, you're responsible for getting this at the end of the class or very beginning. Now, I'm getting on my tangent, aren't I? I'm getting back to the principal days. I'm sitting here telling you what to do. I shouldn't be doing that. But it's how do you help that teacher grow? What are those pieces that we can do to help that teacher help the kids? I mean, that's ultimately where you want it to get to but sometimes you got to go through that teacher to get to the kid.
Yeah. I mean, like I know because I've gotten a lot of little one reason why a student was kicked out, and like another reason was they don't want to get hand sanitizer. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, well, I understand, like it's COVID time and all that, but you're kicking them out. But and I completely understand what the teachers are going through. This year we have particularly large classes, and we
Mhm.
have like these large classes, and we have a couple of people being disruptive. Like, yeah, of course they want to kick them. Like, so I get that. But so what I'm trying to do is like we're like a team. We call ourselves Team Mustang, right? That's we're the Mustang. So
Uh-huh.
Team Mustang. So it's like I'm trying to encourage instead of going straight to like a disciplinary action, it's like I'm trying to encourage the teachers to reach out to the parents, which
Yeah.
we're supposed to, right? But I'm being adamant about it. So they'll send the referral. I was like, have you made parent contact? Call the parent. If you want to assign a lunch detention, let the parent know and let us know so we can, and just kind of give the child like the steps instead of going straight to a referral and ISS, and just
Yeah.
kind of building that relationship with the student and the parent, you know. So that's what I'm just trying to do here in my little for my little
Good.
office or whatever. But
Good.
yeah,
Yeah. And I got off on a tangent. I'm sorry about that.
I think I did too.
Yeah. Ways to improve identified areas of growth. I'll help you with that some, but uh, you mentioned the governance and the finance.
Mhm.
Those uh, are areas that you're going to be able to find information on. Some documented information in black and white. Also, and I know you've done a ton of reading, and I'm going to tell you to read some more. But I know after you get through the doctoral program, after you get through your reading for your ESL policy. But within your policy, I wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't found areas of governance where school boards have made decisions, where obviously the legislature has made decisions, and then also on the finance. How much money is allocated to ESL? Is it a program? We say it's important, but do does the state, does the federal, does the local put their money where the mouth is? How much is that allocation? Or is it, again, something we've painted a pretty picture about, and we talk about it from time to time, but you know what? We're going to put an ugly frame around it, and it's not going to be as pretty anymore. So that might be something that you can, look at and bring out of your reading. But as one day you will be through writing, you won't forget what you've written. I still use what I wrote. I've got my chapters 3, 4, and 5 right back here that I go to from time to time. And what I learned and what I read, some of that real, what I kind of the meat of what I did. There's a lot of sauce with what I put together, but the meat I keep back here. So I, refer to it from time to time, but always kind of keep a book around. You'll find people that you do like to read, and always kind of leadership. I am not a real strong reader, and when I say that, I like to read for information and to make me think from kind of my chair standpoint. I don't want to think philosophically. I'm not going to go get a book on Aristotle. That is not my read. I want something practical. I want something that I can use. I want something that I can translate into my world. Again, I'm not going to get over here in some deep quantitative stuff. I just don't do that. It might work for you, but it doesn't for me. Brene Brown is a good read. Dare to Lead, The Power of Positive Leadership, John Gordon. I'm reading him right now. And I'll go back to some of the books, like I said, we had back when we were in school. Valenzuela is always good information, especially for where we live. I think it's very practical. Yeah. And as we just said a while ago, 30 years later, it's still relevant. So I'd encourage you to, always kind of keep your mind in there, because it's through the reading. I'm going to sound like Dr. Rodriguez or Nino. That's where a lot of your thoughts emerge. Your writing emerged from there, but your thoughts on how to handle something, it gives you a new insight. It gives you a new lens, a new look on how to come at a problem from a different view or standpoint, something that you hadn't even thought of. So reading it takes your mind off of something, but it also creates a little piece in there that becomes relevant. Kind of like talking about the young man or young lady with the pencil. I read a little something, and maybe it puts a nugget in here that maybe I'll try something different with a teacher, and not going to tell the teacher that you did bad or that wasn't the right way to do it, but it might just give you the right words. Sometimes it gives me the right words sometimes in instances. Practicum hours encompass a broad range of competency suggestions. That's kind of like that. Let me put that together. I don't have a great answer for you right now on that. Share practicum hours encompass. How many hours do you need again?
Okay, officially 160, but we're waiting to see if the disaster, the COVID thing, it might be only 128.
Right.
It was like that from my principalship. It went from 160 to 128, but Dr. Bernie is still waiting for confirmation on that one.
And now that's 160 per semester?
No, altogether.
Total, right?
Total. So, yeah, for the year. Okay. So like until next spring. Okay. I do know that like watching school board meetings count. I know that this interview will count, and I think research on my capstone. And then what you mentioned actually earlier, like Region 20 workshops.
Oh yeah.
Like towards if it's towards finance or any of these things, really, I'm sure those things will count too. So. Oh, and then in our previous conversation, you had mentioned that maybe one day we can go shadow you.
Oh, absolutely.
So that
Yeah,
would,
I don't want to. I don't want to encourage something that you're not comfortable in asking your principal to do. Uh, you and
on,
Andy are welcome here anytime. But I sure don't want to put you on a position to where, boy, howdy, I don't feel like I can ask. And Dr. Harrell, he may not, he may get mad. Dr. Harrell's not going to get mad. Dr. Harrell doesn't usually get mad at anything. I get disappointed, but I won't get disappointed in you two. I'll get disappointed in some things we had planned for. It's I don't do well getting mad. I just don't. I channel it to more disappointment, because I will get mad at myself before I'll get mad at somebody else because I've not laid out a good game plan on how to get something to be successful. If we've laid out a good game plan and the person didn't execute the game plan, then I become disappointed. I find that to be much more effective for a person to hear that I gave you a responsibility, you didn't handle it. I'm disappointed that you didn't handle it. Instead of me saying, I gave you a responsibility, you didn't do it, and now I'm mad at you. Well, mad doesn't take me very far. Disappointed will get you a lot more buy-in because people don't like to disappoint other people. People don't care less if I make you mad. They'll just tell you to get over it. You tell them you're disappointed, then they kind of, all right, that tugs at the strings a little bit because I trusted you with something and you didn't do it. If I made you mad, it's because there wasn't that relationship already established. So, like I said, I'll get mad at myself or before I get mad at somebody else because I didn't do a good job of what I expect out of myself. So, another tidbit that you didn't even have to pay for that. So, back to the original question is, I don't want to put you and Andy in a position that y'all aren't comfortable in asking. If y'all are comfortable in asking, we can all set up a day. Absolutely, I'd love for y'all to come and we can go around, talk, visit. I can have people come in and share with y'all what they do in the areas of finance, in the areas of governance, in those areas, so that you have a valuable day at the end of the day. One day we could do an in-office day. One day we can go for a ride and go to different campuses and allow y'all to ask questions that fit in your framework. And one day could be up here, one day could be a director and district day, one day could be on campus. So there's a lot of opportunity and I can come over there sometimes. But again, I don't want to put you two in a position that you aren't comfortable with because we're going to make this work one way or another. So don't sweat the details in that. It will happen. It will get done. And we'll do the best with what we have to work with.
right.
Reflective advice from Dr. Harrell that supported him through his own. I think I shared some of that earlier, but yeah, the reflective piece, the reading, let literature talk. It does talk. It's amazing. I thought they were full of crow when they first mentioned that when we got into the doctoral program, and I ended up eating crow because it does it, and and I maybe shared this with you, and I know I shared it with the people here in Uvalde here in the doctoral program, that the doctoral program was probably the best educational experience I had. We got past the fill in the blanks or scantrons. You looking back, that wasn't a whole lot of good learning, but you hit the nail on the head earlier. Now that you don't have your cohort to talk to and visit with, you are going to have to develop a cohort somewhere because that was some of the best learning. That was some of the best way to learn. So
Oh, yeah.
you're probably gonna have to find a group to fill that void.
Yeah. Like I want to discuss this with somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's.
So who else in Crystal City has gone through this program or is going through this program?
Well, right now, me and Andy from Crystal City, we're currently going through it. Um, I know that one of the teachers here at the junior high, Lali de la Cruz, she just started. This is her first semester.
Okay.
She works here, and she also works at the junior college. And Cruz Mata at the junior college, but he's also on the school board. This is his first semester,
Okay.
which I like that he's on the school board, but I like that he's going through this program because it really like the social justice aspect, and I like that a board member is going to have their,
Yeah, that might be worth the watch in itself for a board member. And we got Luis.
yeah.
So I've seen a change in Luis.
Oh,
And Luis is always was a nice guy. Don't get me wrong, but his questions and his thoughts are different now than they were 3 years ago when he
I
first came on
I
board.
can imagine because all of us, it was like life changing.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
just like a flip, like the,
You're
yeah,
until you go through it, you don't understand it.
yeah,
But
and
once
it's
you've
yeah,
gotten through it, you're glad you did. And it's like I said, it's the best education I've ever had, and the one that is the pretty much the most valuable piece. I mean, you you went through your undergraduate, you went through your graduate, but now you're doctoral. It's different.
yeah.
Yeah, So, anyways, all right. But again, reflective, read, talk, visit, awareness.
Awareness.
What you've read and how is it playing out in my community, whether it's my community here on campus, my community here within the district, my community as Crystal City. You know, it's it becomes relevant and it becomes real. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Timeline. Do we need to talk about a timeline? Do we want to? What were your thoughts on a timeline, or was that
Well, I mean, I guess I
talk
probably need
about?
to syllabus, but I know like for the hours, like since they're due at the end of next spring, I was aiming for like if it's the 128 opposed to the 160.
Yeah,
It would be nice to have at least half, right, by
right.
December
So
or
more
by
about kind of the pacing.
yeah,
Make sure we're not in here in December and we have 3 hours.
yeah. Well, I already got more than that, so
Okay.
no, but yeah, and I need to, and there's some things I've done, but I just need to like log them, and
Well,
it's the whole
that's
balancing act for me right now.
that's what I was gonna say. Don't lose sight. Put them on your phone.
Yeah.
Put it in your calendar. Log it in somehow so you can retrieve it.
Hmm.
Because you're right. You're gonna be at places where, oh, this counts, and I'll remember later. Well, sometimes if you're like me, I don't remember later.
Right. Mhm.
So
And then I know there's the capstone project too, which I think is also due at the end of spring. But since I just recently did the principal thing, we had talked about like maybe I could look at that at a district level,
yeah,
which was like it was ESL strategies for like a campus to use, but it could be all campuses. I mean, we'd have to, and I don't think the capstone for this program is actually as detailed as the principal one. I think it's like it requires less, so.
okay,
So I mean, and that would be nice because we have the whole district is an ESL district here.
right,
So, so it would lend itself, but I need to, if I could have like a good plan, if it's due at the end of spring, if I could have like a good plan by, November.
okay, okay. And meeting, how often do you want to meet?
Up to you. I mean, I know this is that you're super busy and stuff too.
Um, it's what are your easiest days? Are they Mondays? And I say easiest day that you feel like you could commit to having a kind of a set time, or is it a different day of the week? Is it a Wednesday or uh,
I'm trying to think because the only like evenings that would not be good for me would be like if there's a sports
Right.
And like volleyball, like today there was a volleyball game, but it was out of town. And I know our football games are on Thursday, but actually I'm not. Actually, Thursdays might be okay, but then once basketball season comes, I don't know.
Yeah, no. And we can always adjust. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
set in stone. But we do need to probably meet periodically so that make sure to get the hours, make sure we're all progressing towards the
Yeah, Port Turtle goals.
right.
Mhm.
So okay.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty much the last one, right? Like follow up and check-ins.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess we could always text and email.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Okay. Well, think about it. Let's text or email into this week, first part of next week, and see if you have any idea or any thoughts on that. And it doesn't have to be a standard set time. Next, or the 9th, October the 9th, we have fall break, and I will be out of town. That I guess it's actually the 8th, 9th, that first weekend for about 5 days. So
we're so jealous of you guys for that.
so it just worked out well. We're on a quarter system, and at the end of every quarter, we're out for a week or 2 weeks.
Wow.
So,
But do you still get like 2 weeks in Christmas and
yeah. So we here for 9 weeks, and we'll get the fall break in October, and then we come back for 9 weeks, and then we're out for Christmas. Then we come back for 9 weeks, and we're out for spring break, and then we're out, and then we come back for 9 weeks, and school's done.
wow.
So it works pretty well.
Well, yeah, because I already feel like I need a break, but and that week of October 9th sounds really good.
Yeah.
But I guess
So we shut down that whole week. No staff development. Everything became flex hours after that, just so people could stay away. And hopefully, if you got some symptoms, you've got a week or 9 days to get over it.
right.
And we've had since last Wednesday, I think we have not had many cases in our district. It seems like we're starting to get to a point where either those that were going to get it have gotten it, or we've got enough immunization or something of that nature.
That's what, like, recently, I'm not sure about the district, but our campus hasn't really had that
Good.
many cases. I mean, because when we started, it was like every day there was like symptoms, positive,
Yes.
families
Yeah.
positive, now kids positive. Like, and I was like, oh my God, is it going to be like this? But it's slowed down. But
It's kind of like that popcorn. Calling people down the class. Quit popcorning.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to need a transition here pretty quick. Will this give you enough to get
Yes,
started with?
I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.